Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of 10 Minute Strategy. I'm here with Anthony Rose, who actually does a lot of interviews with founders, and today we're going to turn the tables. Anthony is the founder and CEO of an organization called SeedLegal. So, Anthony, thanks so much for taking the time to talk today. And why don't we kick things off? Tell us a little bit about SeedLegal and what you do.
All right. So, SeedLegals, my proposition is fundraising is broken. Founders, in the US, legal fees are insane. So founders go off on the internet, they scrummage around, they create the wrong company types. Many create an LLC instead of a Delaware C Corp. They raise with safes. They don't understand how safe dilution stacks up against them. And they don't know about QSBS, tax savings for themselves and for their investors. So SeedLegals is a platform and people that make fundraising, getting investment ready easier, and do all the legal agreements for your funding round at a fraction of using a law firm. So our goal is to bridge the gap between free stuff on the internet and $50,000 with law firm. SeedLegals has been tremendously successful. We're a 160-person company. There are more than 50,000 startups on SeedLegals, and our goal is to make the whole fundraising process demystified, faster for founders, and help you avoid expensive mistakes.
Excellent. So we've all become a lot more familiar with the SAFE agreement. I have a few, and as those companies get into maturity, I'm going to be excited to see how my equity actually shakes out and what it actually looks like. Why don't you talk a little bit about the SAFE versus other agreements? And I know you've got something that you're working on in that area.
Yeah, it's a great point, and actually a passion point for me. So once upon a time, the only way to raise equity investment was to do a funding round, often called a priced round. And that requires creating a large amount of legal documentation. This is highly standardized. It's called the NVCA, National Venture Capital Association documents. There is a certificate of incorporation, a stockholder, a bunch of documents. Lawyers charge $50,000 or more for this. So back in 2013, Y Combinator, who were doing lots of investments, said, this is way too hard. What we're going to do is we're going to come up with something called a SAFE. It's basically an IOU. It's a promissory note saying, I'm giving you money now, and you're going to give me stock later on. And SAFEs are great because they're super easy. You don't need a lawyer. But there are two problems which make them not safe. So for the investor, the problem is they don't get stock immediately. They get stock potentially years later. But in the US, investors, there's a fantastic tax benefit for those who don't know it, QSBS, Qualified Small Business Stock. It means if you keep your stock for 5 years, you pay no federal capital gains tax up to the higher of $15 million or 10x your investment. So it's fantastic for investors and actually for founders as well. But interestingly, the IRS has never ruled whether stock means when you actually get shares in the company or when you invest with a SAFE. So the jury's out. And so some investors think that when I invest with a SAFE, I can write it off my tax or claim my 5-year clock starts immediately. And some say actually only when it converts years later does my stock, the clock start for being able to get no federal capital gains tax. So the SAFE is less good for an investor than just getting stock immediately. On the other hand, for a founder, the YC post-money cap SAFE means that, Peter, if you're giving me money, let's say you're giving me $500,000 at a 5 million post-money cap. That means I'm giving you 10% equity. And then I go to Alice and I raise $500K from Alice on a $500K with the 5 mil post-money cap. So I'm giving Alice 10%. And then I go to Bob and I'm giving Bob, you know what? When I do my next funding round, I'm giving you 10% equity at that time to each of you. So what many founders don't realize is that every time you create a SAFE for someone, a post-money cap SAFE, you're adding together all the dilution which stacks up against you, as opposed to you had added all these investors in a round where they and all the other investors would dilute each other and you would be diluted less. So if you're giving away small amounts of equity, in other words, a high cap and a small investment amount, it's not significant. But if you don't know what you're doing and you're handing out safes like lollipops,
Right.
then one day you're going to wake up at your next funding round, and instead of at your first seed round or priced round, maybe the founders would have 60% equity had there been everyone in a funding round, and maybe less than 50% equity if you've been dishing out safes. So you may find yourself a minority stockholder in your first round. So safes can be very unsafe. So we've thought, well, actually, what's really interesting is Y Combinator, they're not a tech company themselves. So their solution to lawyers are expensive is to go, we'll make this sort of promissory note to kick the can down the road.
Right.
But at SeedLegals, we're a legal tech company. We've said there's a better solution to this problem, which is we will automate the fundraising documents and make a simplified set and integrate with the Delaware registry. So we make it almost as easy to issue stock as to do a safe. So you can give your investors their stock now in a way that is better for the investor. They get their QSBS sooner. And for you as a founder, the dilution doesn't stack up in the same way. We call it a safer. We're working on it. It launches soon. And I think one day people are going to go, like for 100 years, investors would invest and get stock. And then for 10 years, they invested and got these promissory notes. And then they got stock again.
But
So we'll see how we go on that.
The next era is upon us.
Exactly.
So can you talk about one of your clients and sort of where they were going with the previous model, the SAFE model, and how you coach them maybe to go towards the QSBS? What sort of company were they, maturity-wise, et cetera?
Right. So it's a great point. I'd actually prefer to give a slightly different example.
Okay.
So I talk to, at SeedLegals, I mean, literally 1,000 founders a year. And, the founders have many problems about how do I find investors and how do I find a co-founder and what happens when it splits up and co-founder breakups occur, which is all too common. But I have to say, for me, the number one problem that founders have is you talking to them and they're passionate about this problem they're solving. And then you say, send me your pitch deck, or you look at their website and it says, we use AI and blockchain with agentic workflow to transform insurance. You go, dude, I have no idea what you're doing.
Right.
And I was talking to a customer just before this call, and they're doing what sounds like a fantastic diabetes device for detecting diabetes early on using AI, using just your breath. And it looks like it's a transformative device. But they had been unable to articulate it in a way that is appealing. It's a medical device. Medical devices take ages to get regulated. They were looking for grant funding. And so here's my party trick, which I do a lot, is I get on Lovable. Often when I'm talking to a founder, lovable.dev, for those who don't know it, it's a vibe coding platform. I wouldn't use it for production code, but to make a website or even a pitch deck, it's unbelievable. So I go to Lovable. I voice dictate everything these days. I use something called Whisperflow AI voice to text. And I say, make a better version of the website at URL. Explain how company name solves the problem of, insert the problem. Show 3 examples of their website or device solving it in these 3 ways. Do a competitor analysis. And this is where Lovable is a genius, because it can scour the internet and actually find competitors and do a competitor matrix. And then I say, include customer testimonials. It's going to make those up, but that's okay. You can fix them with proper ones. And then I say, include a pricing component. It will make that up as well, but it'll be inspiration. And then I say, make a vibrant, modern website with rich lifestyle images. And I say, and include, book a meeting and a get started button at the top and bottom of the page. And then I go make a cup of coffee, or I'm still talking to the person on the call. I'll keep talking about other things. And 10 minutes later, without fail, Lovable has made a website that is 10 times better than the previous one.
Right.
So I would highly encourage anyone who's got an early stage website they're working on to do this. And then you can choose, either you just publish the Lovable site, or more likely you go to whoever's making a website, go make one of these.
Right.
And
no, I think that's great advice. We at Knock Media, one of the companies that I help out, we recently had a customer come to us. They had done a lot of work on Replit, and then they wanted to know what it would cost to really do this platform that they had in mind. And so what we do is we build out a blueprint that's priced. Like here's all our knowledge about how this is going to work, and here's what it's going to actually cost to build the thing that you've pretended to build in Replit, right?
Right.
And now let's go do it. And the next point is, hey, what's your business case? What's your revenue model? Are people going to eat the dog food, right? Are dogs going to eat the dog food? And so the process has changed a bit, right? It used to be so much money just to get your idea out of your head. Now you can get your idea out of your head better, but the opportunity or the next hurdles are still there, which is to build a true enterprise business that you can adjust, that you can look at the metrics for, that you know who your customers are, you can call them if you need to, all those things that you might want to do. And is it investable? Does it have an actual business case that stands up to scrutiny? So, hey, we're at 10 minutes, so I think we need to wrap up. But I'd love to do this again, Anthony. It was really, really fun to talk to you and hear about your business. And I'm sure we've got other stuff we can cover in the future.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And if you want to do a worked example of a website that we transform over a call, I would love to do it, because I think it's probably the biggest issue, particularly in the age of AI, that founders have. It's agentic AI something, and you're going, that was a great selling point a while back, but it's no longer. You have to show how it solves a real problem today.
Right. Absolutely.
And let's go fix that.
I love it. Thank you very much, Anthony. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Peter. That was amazing.
Awesome.